4-6, Mavs Nation looking forward to Flagg and a dynasty run in DFW. Is that possible? I think they're talented enough. You know, if you can assure me health, I definitely think they'd win one championship over the next 3 seasons, maybe multiple.
Yeah, no doubt. If they can be healthy, the West is really the entire NBA is there for the taking. Who's scaring in the East now with Boston dismantling that team? Nobody. And you match up great with OKC. You took 3 of 4 last year, and you won all 3 of those games without Luka. So this is definitely a team. If health is on their side, they can win.
Let me ask you this question then. You're on the fired Nico.
Yep.
You still think they can win if Nico is the general manager?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, I think this team is he's done a good job putting it together. I think for the fan base, like it's less of there's things that I like that Nico's done basketball wise. I think growing up and knowing MFFLs and being one myself, there will be no finishing and healing unless that is removed from the organization.
Yeah, that's the interesting question is how much would you enjoy a championship?
I think there's
Nico?
a lot of Maverick fans that wouldn't.
You would not give him any rope if they do win a championship, right?
You mean like credit?
It's not credit, but I'm just saying you're not going to give him any leeway.
You're not going to forgive him?
You're not going to forgive him.
I think he needs to be removed.
No, he every time he talks, he offends the fan base.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better. There's always going to be something. There's even video right now when Luka gets brought up and somebody's like Cooper Flagg side-eyeing the general manager like, oh, the guy who did the Luka trade over there. Like there's always it's never going to we're never going to be able to fully heal and move on.
Yeah.
As a Metroplex, as Maverick fans, until he is fired. And I don't really give a damn about Mark Cuban and defending his guy or Patrick Dumont, who's clueless as hell. They need to realize that. If you really care about the people that are putting money in your pockets, which are your fans, a good portion of them will not be able to move on until you remove that cancer from your organization. I don't care if he's good at his job or not.
Yeah, I think
they've got to fire him.
It'd be an incredible parade, an incredible celebration. I don't think it would be as big as it could be. I don't know how to quantify it, 5-10%. Like, all Bulls fans hated Jerry Krause, and Jordan and Pippen were openly encouraging them to hate him, but they still enjoyed the hell out of that season. And I think once the winning starts, you'll just try to ignore Nico. Because there's usually somebody on your team that you would prefer not to be there. But, if you go and win it, it's too much fun to not get caught up in. But I don't think Nico will ever be a guy who's appreciated by the local fan base. Yeah. I no matter how much success that he has.
Does he
it's personal.
A point of vindication a little bit, the fact that we're hearing that Luka's gone to this diet program, is taking it seriously. Was this the wake up call that he was trying? I mean, it took him being traded for him to make a change. I'm talking about Luka.
All of Nico's complaints about Luka were valid. Even the decision to move on from him as we go to a much more high-paced style away from point guards who dominate the ball. Kobe said years ago that style won't win a championship. At the time, he was referring to James Harden, but it was pretty...
Pound the ball.
Yeah. Now, as you saw with Indiana, they had the best offense of the regular season and the playoffs because they're just boom, 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 boom. And at times when Luka was out and Kyrie played that style with the guys, they played great. That's how they beat OKC. Oh, Luka's out. Cool. We can play an up-tempo style. And without Luka on the court, all of your defenders, other than Kyrie, can be athletic. But even Kyrie gives great effort. He's going to try to stay in front of guys on the perimeter. He's going to sit down on an entry pass and try to deny it as he did, and continues to do. So, everything that Nico decided on, I think, is basketball sound until you trade him for Anthony Davis.
What if there was a situation, and it's just me thinking, that Mark Cuban told people in the organization that he wasn't interested in paying Luka, and he's defending Nico because Nico made the trade, and now Nico's the one having to wear the bloods on his hands. Yeah. Where Mark was talking to people in the organization like, I can't pay him. Mm-hmm. I can't pay this guy.
You can't pay him and also win.
Yeah. So it was one of those.
I could pay him, but I have to cut a bunch of other dudes.
So Nico basically did Mark's dirty work for him, and then Mark had to sell the team.
Yeah, I think the same thing applied to DeMont. Like, they just didn't want to pay Luka.
I don't think DeMont and them knew. I don't think they don't know if it's pumped up or stuffed. They don't know. But maybe Nico did Mark's dirty work, where Mark was going to probably have to come out and make a decision about, well, I can't pay this guy this max contract.
I mean, Mark had started doing some pretty cheap stuff with the payroll.
That's what I was
head scratching type of stuff.
That's what I
think Mark recognized I can't build a winner around Luka because it costs too much money.
Right.
And Mark actually talked about it today at the press conference afterwards. A lot of teams are blowing up their NBA championship contenders because they are terrified of the second apron. They know it is actual financial losing. Most of these guys are in it to run their team for a profit while trying to win a championship. And now you go second apron, you could end up losing money, out of the playoffs, stuck with that roster, can't trade the guys next year because somebody's hurt, somebody's underperforming, and now you're all of a sudden looking like over the next decade, we might lose $200 million. Easy. If we can't get back in the playoffs or if we can't figure out a way to trim this payroll. So it's like a real life battle of profitability, and how these billionaires are going to roll. Very shrewd.